Hi, I'm James Eade of the Eade Foundation, but you can call me Jim. And I have a special guest on my show, but I don't want to spoil the lead and so bury the lead. And so this is the chess files. The answers are out there. And I am James Eade. And who am I? Well, I'm a chess player, and I am running a show about chess. And I started when I was young, but we're going to find out that I wasn't as young as some. And I was a good player at a young age, but not as good as some. We'll talk about more about that later. I became an FM. I was a really dedicated player for a while, but I had a career. I couldn't dedicate myself to chess alone. And then I became a pretty good fighter in those days, and I won some tournaments, but I wasn't the best. I wasn't close to being the best. So I turned my attention to publishing books, writing articles and books. And I did a lot of things in the chess community, and I ended up getting the Outstanding Career Achievement Award from the U.S. Chess Federation in 2018. But what has that got to do with the Eade Foundation? You know, the Eade Foundation is dedicated to building communities, because if you're part of a community, you're never alone. And so you can get onto the chess community if you have internet access. But if you do not have internet access, and not all countries do, not really well connected in terms of the internet. So we can help you start your community wherever you are, whatever country you're in, whatever language you speak. And why would I do something like that? Why would I do that? Because I get things like this. This is a couple of kids in Uganda who got chess sets and boards from the Eade Foundation, and this is what I got in return. So this is why I do what I do. But let's get back to the chess files. The answers are out there. And so you know who I am, and you can call me Jim. But my question today, if the answers are out there, what's the question? The question is, how do you get really good at chess when you're really young? Now, I thought I was a hot shot when I was young, but let me introduce you to another one, and his dad. Hello, Christopher and Young. You are Young. You are the father of Christopher Yoo, who is the subject of my show today. And how did you get started in chess?
Me or Christopher or
You
both?
you must
Me.
have gotten Christopher started. Or
The question for Christopher.
okay, Christopher, how did you get started in chess?
Um, I took an after school program. I think my parents signed me up for something. Like they just wanted to, we just wanted to try the
Uh-huh.
game. I think my dad was always somewhat interested in chess, so I guess he was interested in taking me to this after school program so I could learn chess and see how I do. I was actually struggled to learn how all the pieces move for at least a week or two.
Yeah, yeah, that's normal. So, and let me ask your dad, where were you? Where are you from? Where were you born?
Well, I was born in Korea, but Christopher was born right in here in the U.S. in the Bay Area in Fremont, California.
You're mine.
I
Yeah.
came over when I was 5, and so I really grew up as an American,
Hmm.
and I love chess ever since maybe my junior high school years, and in college I was in my college chess club. I was never good at it. I got to around 15, 1600, but I
Oh,
just got stuff.
that's a good rating for a tournament player, and a tournament player must be interested in chess. So, um, and so I was kind of hinting around that you must have had some influence on Christopher's getting interested in chess.
Oh, yeah, so that was kind of interesting. I first tried to teach him myself when I was 5 years old, but he wasn't, his brain wasn't quite ready for it. He couldn't remember the names of the pieces, so I couldn't even teach him how each of them moved. And so I kind of gave up. And then a year later, my wife suggested there's a class an after school program put on by Berkeley Chess School.
Shout out to
Suggested
Berkeley
we
Chess.
enroll him in it. I said, okay, we'll try that. No, we didn't. I didn't necessarily think he would become a good chess player because the difficulty I had trying to teach him chess a year earlier. But I was proven wrong.
Yeah. So Christopher, after you get started in that after school chess program, did you show right away that you were better than the other kids your age, or did you have some tough sledding for a while?
Not right away, but relatively soon, maybe several months after I learned how all the pieces move.
And
More
then
like weeks, I would say.
weeks.
Yeah.
So
So
you got
after he learned how the pieces move, it took him 2 weeks to learn how the knight and the bishop moved.
right.
He was the only one who was actually taking 2 classes, but he was the only one in his class who didn't know how to play the game. Other kids knew the basic rules, but he was the only one who didn't know anything. And so it took him a little while to catch up with the kids, but then by the end of the class, which was a couple of months long, he was beating the coach, the teacher, and he was also occasionally able to beat me. I'm 1500, and first of all, about a month after he learned how to play, he could see mates into much quicker than me. I was trying to spot where the king was on the board, and he would already have the answer to the mate too. And so I said, this is not right. This is not usual. But I've been around chess for a long time.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen anything like this.
Yeah. So that ability to visualize ahead, that's usually something that we have to work on to develop our ability to see like a mate in two. Even a simple mate in two requires you to visualize the actual checkmate in advance.
And what really astounded me was how he could visualize all the pieces on the board almost instantaneously, even though he'd only been playing for like a month. But he just saw the whole layout while I was trying to figure out where all the pieces still were. And then about like 3-4 months after he learned how to play chess, he won the first grade Cal Chess State Championship. And at that point, we really knew. But I think the first person.
Does Christopher remember that, winning the championship?
I remember winning the championship. That was memorable.
Yeah. So how old were you then? Let's see. First grade?
7. I was.
He just turned 7.
Just turned 7. Okay, so you got your first state championship under your belt when you were 7. How old are you now?
14.
14. Okay, so this may not have been the first time I heard about you, but I know that you became the youngest international master in the United States at the age of 11. I think that's when I first perked up. That's right? I'm not making that up.
Yeah, true. But I think it was 12, not 11.
Yeah, he had just turned 12 when he became.
Just turned 12. Okay, so I'm giving you more credit than you deserve, but you deserve a ton of credit. Okay, so that was an amazing accomplishment. I had heard about you became a FIDE master, an FM before an IM, right?
Yeah.
I think that's when I first started to hear about you. Didn't you win a Cal State Championship, a Northern California held by Cal Chess? Didn't you win one of those?
I think so, yeah.
And how old were you when you won?
Yeah, the state championships he's talking about at age 11, right?
Yeah.
At age 11. So has anyone younger than you ever won the North Cal Chess Championship?
No. The second youngest was 16, I think.
And that might be
Yeah.
Yeah, Grandmaster at age 16.
And the U.S. Champion just a few years ago.
Yes. A significant player, one of the best to come out of the Bay Area. And, so that's a pretty high bar. But, you're 14. So what is your plans for the future? Do you think you're going to try to become a Grandmaster?
For sure. My long term, I want to become good enough to play chess professionally and teach chess. Just do everything related to chess. Try to become as good as possible.
Right. So it seems to me, from what your dad has told me just now, that your ability to visualize was almost a given from the get-go. You were able to see things that it's taken other players, such as myself, longer time to develop. And the other thing that I know about chess is that's important is pattern recognition. Did you see patterns and remember them so that you could recognize them when they appeared on the board, over the board, and know what to do? Did it just become intuitively obvious to you? Am I just thinking about somebody else like myself?
I think once I did some tactics, got a I pretty quickly picked up the patterns. So yeah,
Yeah,
it definitely came easily to me.
yeah. So the tactical ability, and when you're, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're getting good, when your rating is not so high, and then you're getting higher and stronger, at the first part of that growth is pretty much tactical, the ability to calculate accurately. Was that your experience?
I think I'm pretty, yeah, sure.
Yeah. But when you get to be a master, a chess master, it's not just tactics, because everybody that's a master knows tactics. So what started to separate you from a master?
I mean, I did others. Even though they don't miss simple tactics, if you can calculate like very deeply, they will still miscalculate often. So I still did a lot of tactics and calculation, and I did some other stuff too. Like I worked on Derevsky Endgame manual, and I
Diversity,
guess I also trained some endgames too.
that's a heavy lifter right there, that manual. But so you talked end games, because I think, in my experience, for me personally, studying the end games made a big jump. I just studied, one summer I studied bishop or minor piece endings, bishop and knight, bishop versus bishop, knight versus knight. And I got much stronger just from doing that. So, and people that were my age at that time weren't studying the endings. So you have a knack for endings, but you did it through hard work, right? Or am I just putting words in your mouth? Was it hard work studying endings, or did it just come easily to you?
I think I did some hard work. Yeah.
Durevsky was very hard, right?
Yeah.
I would think so. That is a classic. It's become a classic. Everyone refers to it, but it is heavy lifting. And so you wouldn't give a beginner that book, for example. You have to have some chess knowledge, right? So as endgames, would you call that a strength of yours, or is it mainly your ability to visualize and calculate?
I'd say visualize and calculate. But the and I definitely end games are not a weakness. Um, I'm not sure if it's a strength or not. It really depends on the type of end game and how much time I have to think.
Yes, that's always the case. But correct me if I'm wrong again, because I did a little background check on you, and I understand that you won a FIDE bronze medal for endgame composition.
Yes.
Yeah, you did. Okay, I got that right. So, how old were you when you did that?
I think 12. Yeah.
Now, isn't that kind of unusual for a 12-year-old to win a FIDE competition against all the grizzled old vets that are out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's endgame composition or composition in general is the older players thing. I mean, most of the people we know in this field are like 40, 50, 60 years old. And so it's very unusual for for kid to be even doing this, let alone winning prizes in these competitions.
I couldn't agree more. This is the thing, when you get to a certain age, the strain of competition starts to take a toll. You don't have the stamina you did when you were young, and so things like endgame composition or correspondence chess play, that sort of thing starts to become more appealing as you become older. So to have it even occur to you to do it when you're 14, 12, whatever. that's kind of remarkable. So what sparked your interest in actually composing endgames?
I mean, I always like to solve endgame studies and look at them, and I found it very appealing to solve them and look at them. So I thought it'd also be a good feeling if I could compose something like that myself.
And was it a good feeling?
Yes.
Yes.
Became obsessed with it to the point that we were a little worried because he was not doing his regular chess. He was just 24/7. I mean, when he was not sleeping, he was just thinking about creating puzzles. In the span of a few months, he created like hundreds of them.
Wow.
And he won. He's won like in that span of he created puzzles that won like half a dozen prizes.
That's very, very unusual, but also I just tip my cap to you because that requires a type of talent that I don't possess, the composition element of it. I've always been attracted to solving them, but it just never even occurred to me to compose them. And
I think partially what helped me get a feeling for composing is even before I composed, I had a habit of just looking at a bunch of endgame studies. And I picked up a lot of typical endgame study themes and patterns. And I guess I have a talent for recognizing those patterns. So I managed to be able to apply them to my endgame studies.
And do you think that this was wasted time, or do you think this may have had some benefit to your over-the-board chess?
It's a hard question, but I think it helps with creativity. But I think there's better things to practice when trying to get better at over the board chess.
Right.
His coaches suggest against it. They say
Yeah.
it's not good for his over the board play, so he doesn't do much of it anymore, but just occasionally.
Right. Well, I always say follow your passion, and if your passion is composition, go for it. But if your goal, it all depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to become the strongest tournament player that you can be, and everybody has their potential. Some of them tap out at certain levels. Some of them go beyond those levels. And you're the tap on you. I can't even imagine what it is, what you can become. But if your goal is to become the strongest tournament player, then yeah, I would probably agree with the coaches. The end game compositions might be in your future rather than in your present, because there are other things. And what's an example of the other things that's a better use of your time than end game compositions?
Stuff that work like calculation, reading regular chess book, stuff that is useful for regular chess, not under promoting and sacrificing queens for random things.
Things that have practical applications.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those things, do you see them in other games? You go over the games of the players that are currently competing in world-class competitions?
Yeah.
Because that's where you would see this type of play. And it's the type of play that, and when I was in your situation, I wanted to emulate it. And you can only emulate it if you understand it. So playing over those games, I would say that you probably understand what's going on. Do you ever get to this point where you're going, I don't understand that move, or did you play that move?
Yeah, I just think even super GMs don't understand a lot of the moves that other super GMs can easily find, and vice versa. There's
Right.
a lot that we miss, but also a lot that we understand. So
Yeah. Well, that's one of the joys of chess, is because it's not a fully solved problem, and you're always faced with new problems. Almost every game, between someone of your relative strength, you're setting problems for each other to solve, and so you have to have the determination. I would think that is also one of the characteristics that to become an international master at your age, you have to have a strong will and be determined and persevere through defeat, because you will suffer defeats. You don't go through tournaments with a perfect score. Am I right? So how do you pick yourself up after a loss?
It's generally quite frustrating for maybe the next hour or something, but I guess that my natural tendency is to not feel too bad about it once a few hours passes, and usually by the next day I've already forgotten about it. Don't
Do you
like
ever play
don't
over your
feel it.
losses? Do you ever study your
a,
losses?
a bit. I could do that more, obviously.
That was one of the
I
things.
do always like briefly check the game with the engine afterwards to
Uh,
see where I went wrong.
right, right. Because I learned a lot from my losses because I had a pattern of making the same mistake, and once I learned what that mistake was, I could clean it up. So I'm not telling you what to do here, but I'm just saying what worked for me was to pay
Mhm.
attention to my losses as well. I do want to share. I just I wanted to share one screen in particular with you, with the audience, and it's not cooperating right now. I'm getting that little rotating ball, which I don't like to see, the little beach ball that rotates. So I'm just going to continue on and not bother with sharing this screen. But what I was going to share was that you won the cadet championship in 2020. Can you tell me a little bit about that? That's a competition of strong players. Is that not right?
Yeah,
And
That's
they're
under 16 right in the US.
I think so.
Yeah, so
under
it's a competition for 16 years or under 16 years. Yeah.
right. And so you won it when you were 13?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of good players. Here we go. So my bowling ball is cooperating. So this is the screen that I wanted to share with the audience. That's a picture of Christopher. It looks a lot like you, Christopher. And this is the 2020 U.S. Cadet Championship. And you can see from the tournament cross table that you got 6 out of 7, and you only gave up two draws. So you went without a loss in a strong field. There's
Yeah.
other ratings 2,400, 2,500, 2,400, 24, 25, 24, and one player that was supposedly the weakest player is already a master. He's strong. So these people are good players, and you were able to defeat them, and nobody defeated you. How did that feel?
Great.
Now, does the thrill of victory linger longer than the agony of defeat?
Really depends who you beat and who you lose to. I think in general it evens out.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he dwells too much on either his wins or his losses.
So stay in the present. Is that the message? Just keep focusing on today, getting
Mhm.
stronger.
Yeah. So he tends not to be a really streaky player because it's every game is he treats as a different game, a new game.
That's a wonderful attitude. I did not have that attitude. Maybe one of the reasons why I was never able to get to your level of playing strength was that I would brood about losses, and it doesn't sound like that affects you. I really admire
Yeah.
it.
I guess I'm relatively natural at that. Gen guess in general I'm not too emotional. Obviously I have my ups and downs.
Yes, of
You can
course.
tell when he gets upset about a game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. And
Yeah.
so let me tell me a little bit about the parenting, because right now you're actually Christopher's manager now. Are you not young?
Yeah, so I'm retired, so I get to work with him as much as I want, and um, so it's not that hard of a job really because I'm basically managing his travels, picking tournaments for him, or at least giving him the option. I make a big list of tournaments he could play in, and then he gets to pick from the menu. And but it's usually the choices are not that difficult because there are not that many major or strong events every year. Um,
Because you can't play in a weekend Swiss anymore. Because what's the point? You've got to
yeah.
get strong competition.
Yeah, that's right. Although occasionally he'll do that just so to get some little warm up before
Oh
a
yeah,
stronger event.
I can understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Well, that's really an important thing to know, that you have to actually keep playing chess. You don't want to get rusty. You don't want to, have your first tournament in a long time be an important tournament. So you want to, kind of warm up, as you said, and keep your um, mind continually thinking about chess. And so some of the people, everybody's different though. Some players like to just study by themselves, and Bobby Fischer was famous for that. He didn't want input from others. How are you wired? Are you the kind of person who likes to analyze with other people, or do you like to do it yourself?
I feel like, again, I kind of lie in the middle between both. It really depends with who I'm analyzing with. I have people who I like analyzing with and people that I have want nothing to do with. So
Yeah.
that would be me, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, that it generally helps them to be
good chess
good
players.
chess
Right?
players,
Yes,
so
yeah.
I can actually get something out of it.
He definitely does not want any chess advice from me.
well, Sunil Weramantri told me that about Nakamura. It was like Nakamura was got to a point where he was just too good, and Sunil's an FM, you know, borderline IM strength, and but you get to a certain point where the dads can't help the kid chess wise, but you're playing a very important role in doing the logistics, mapping out how to get to this event, how
Yeah.
we're eat, how we're going to sleep, because eating and sleeping is part of preparation. Nowadays, grandmasters take that very seriously.
Yeah,
I don't think we plan what I'm gonna eat yet.
not that well,
But
but we're trying to work on his exercise
Yes,
program because he needs to be in shape,
yes,
and he's good at sports, but he doesn't like to exercise, so just
yeah,
have to constantly try
yeah.
to get him to do it.
There aren't that many people that like exercising, but some people get into it and they feel better. So it's kind of like this self-reinforcing thing. You feel better when you exercise, and
Mhm.
actually you perform better when you're fit. And this is something that grandmasters that were my age, we didn't emphasize that. We didn't emphasize eating and sleeping and being fit. And
Yeah.
nowadays they all are.
yeah,
So if you aren't, you're giving them an advantage.
I see. I feel like Bobby Fischer though took that relatively seriously about being fit.
Yes, he did. You're absolutely right about that. And that was one of the lessons that I took from him, because I started my first tournament game was in 1972. So for obvious reasons, he was a great influence on a lot of players my age. John Fedorowicz, Nick DeFermian, Larry Christensen, all these guys. We all got inspired by the same person, and we all got taken into chess that way. That's why I'm always curious, like, how did you get into chess? Because people my age, we got into chess pretty much for the same reason. Bobby Fischer was making headlines. But
Well, I'll tell you one huge motivation for him when he was very little, for the first year, was trophies.
ah,
So he really wanted these trophies. I remember he was invited to a birthday party, um, and he was crying because he would he would miss out on a chance to win a chess trophy that day.
yeah, that's
But we
embarrassing.
made him go to the birthday party.
Yeah. Well, that's parenting. You got to make choices where your kid, even if your kid wants the trophy, there's something you have to socialize
I
with others.
think I ended up having fun at the birthday party, so
Yeah,
that
I
was
think that was the right choice.
Yeah,
Eventually, he outgrew the trophies. He got so many of them that they no longer had that value anymore.
right. And whatever works. And like, what's the value now that you want to pursue? Is it rating? Is it titles? Is it championships? What's motivating you now?
it's actually kind of a mix of everything, but rating is definitely always somewhat of a motivator. Often just playing chess for me is fun, so I
Yeah.
don't. it's kind of a mix of the fun you have from playing chess and the ratings.
He loved numbers. He's always had an affinity for numbers. So ratings, I think he's a little too focused on, but whatever keeps him happy.
Well, with people that I started doing when I became a master, we would kid each other that the rating was an extension of our personality. You'd walk into a chess club, they wouldn't ask you what's your name, they'd ask you what's your rating. Like, are you worth talking to or not, kind of thing. But, you can take it, like anything else, you can take it too far. Whether your rating is this or that or this or that, it doesn't really matter. What it is are you enjoying yourself? Is this work or is it fun? Is it something that you want to do? And are you passionate about it? Will take you so much further. Even an average person with their average ability with numbers and average ability to calculate, if they're passionate about it, they will exceed what expectations other people have of them. But if you're just having fun, then it's great. Two guys in a park or at a cafe playing chess, they're having fun. So that's the beauty of the game. It doesn't matter what their ratings are. They're enjoying it. So as long as you're enjoying it, you're a winner. And it doesn't matter what your cross table says. If you're having fun, you're a winner. So, keep doing it as long as it's fun. And when it gets to be hard work and you think, well, is this work hard because I want to prepare for something that I really want? Then I'd have to do the work. Okay. So, you just buckle up and do the work. It's just like exercising, like your dad is telling you. Exercising is just doing the work. It's just preparation, because you don't want to give your opponent any advantage. And if they're fit and you're not, you'll get tired before they do. And so, be fit, eat well, sleep well, do all those things. It'll help you become the best you can be. And I'm not sure what the limit on the best you can be is. And I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be a spectator and a fan watching to see what that level is, because you've done so many things at a young age. But there are a lot of players that have decided, well, I'm more interested in mathematics. I'm more interested in history. I'm more interested in this than I am in chess. So just take it as far as it takes you. As long as you're enjoying yourself, keep doing it. And the thing that you have that I didn't have was coaches and all that kind of stuff. But also, you can make a living at it now. You don't have to be Bobby Fischer. You can be a good grandmaster. And if you are a good teacher as well, you will always find employment. There will always be.
I'm guessing there's more opportunities for coaching careers now when you don't, and it is more funded than before. I see.
Absolutely. And when I was your age, we didn't know what a chess coach was. We had books, and that was it. And the books would come from Yugoslavia every few months. So
Yeah.
we
Now,
felt.
Christopher is not a great believer in spending money on coaching. He's probably the most frugal person I know. He doesn't want us to be spending money on books. And you see me a lot of chess books beyond there. That's all my fault. But he resists that. He resists coaching. He thinks he can learn that by himself on his own.
I think coaching has taken me very far, but once you hit a certain level, it feels like it starts becoming to less use. But
I think that's normal. I think that's an accurate assessment. The stronger you get, and you've gotten to that strength. And Nakamura told me that himself. He said that he didn't study books, he didn't read books, because it was the computer and him. So you could get what you wanted. You could plug in an engine and get some concrete, objective analysis of the position, and then you can use your own knowledge and understanding to see, is that evaluation correct? And also, I found that there are certain positions that I played better than other types of positions. Like, we can talk about open games versus closed games and that sort of thing. There was a natural affinity for me in a certain type of position, and in another position, I just didn't have that kind of feel for it. Do you have that, or do you think you're already pretty well-rounded?
I'm decently rounded, but I definitely have my strengths and weaknesses.
Tell me a little more about that. Not your weaknesses. Tell me a little bit more about your strengths.
I think dynamics and open positions and calculating is a strength.
Right. All right.
I
Do you?
think I can kind of feel where my intuition is good when it's complicated. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. What a gift. And that's also hard work, preparation that plays into it, but you're exploiting your gift. So that's wonderful to hear. And let me ask you another question that's related. Would prefer to attack than to defend, but do you think you're an equally good defender as you are an attacker?
hmm. So that's hard to say, but I think I swindle a lot of bad positions and I get ugly positions, but don't end up losing often. So I, it's maybe, but I still think my attack is probably better.
I would say he's a very good defender when he's in a bad position or losing. Um, Less good at defense when he's have an advantage, right?
Wait, wait, I'm not sure. Zach, huh?
What it's like if you have a good position, he that sometimes misses defensive
Oh, I think
Oh,
things. Yeah,
opponent's defense. That's
yes.
so
Yeah. Well, I can assure you, you're not alone there. Overlooking your opponent's defense, there because the opponents get desperate in defense and they consider possible moves that you might not when you're attacking because you're comfortable, you're attacking, you think you're winning, and there's just desperate to preserve the game somehow, some way, and so a move that would seem unusual that you wouldn't necessarily calculate, they're considering it. So sometimes they come up with the gem of a defensive resource. But there's another aspect to this. When you're attacking, sometimes you can get lazy. You think the attack is going to play itself. But it sounds to me like you're very opportunistic. And even when you're in a bad position, you call it swindling. But it's also the opponent gave you an opportunity and you took advantage of it. And that
yeah.
turns the tables. So who knows? Even if you're in a bad position, it only takes one good move to ruin 40, one bad move to ruin 40 good moves. So it's just the nature of the game. So you just hang in there, and don't despair, don't give up. Oh, I misplayed the opening. I might as well resign. No, hang in there. Who knows what's going to happen? But it sounds like you have confidence in your own ability. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to list a couple of things here. Are you a confident player?
I'm not. I'm really depends. I don't think I'm definitely not the most confident, but I think I have a decent amount of confidence. It depends a lot how I'm doing though. It could be improved. Like when I'm on a bad streak, I'm totally not feeling confident easily. So.
Sure. That's totally normal. But you trust your ability to calculate correctly. Am I right? You can accurately
Yeah,
calculate.
don't trust some other things, but I do have confidence in my calculations.
Okay. So that will, and it has taken you very far. Trust in your confidence in your calculations, because if you we some players that never got to your strength, we see phantoms, we see moves that we imagine are too strong, and they aren't if you just trust the calculations. If you
Yeah, often I do doubt myself when I'm, calculating a variation. But when I do doubt myself, I try to think, is this a ghost or like, is this actually
Yeah,
serious? So
right.
if I see that what I'm afraid of is just a ghost, I usually just go with it anyways. But I definitely had moments where I get too afraid of something that isn't even there. I think when I had a slump where that was a problem for some time.
I heard a lot of kids go through this little slump where they
Yeah,
get too afraid of stuff because they start seeing a lot more than they used to.
Yeah.
Their minds have expanded. They're seeing a whole bunch of stuff that their opponents can now do, and so they start becoming afraid and start playing afraid. And he went through a little period of that, but he overcame it.
That's completely normal. That is a natural evolution of your growth. You see more and you trust yourself less, and then you get confidence again. And yeah, I'm calculating accurately, and I'm accurately calculating at a higher level. So this should be self-reinforcing and increase your confidence. You know, and so many players reach a plateau and they think, you know, this is where I'm stuck. But you've got so much growth ahead of you. And where do you think that growth is going to come from? Playing stronger players is my first guess.
Yeah, that definitely practicing and playing in a lot of tournaments will help.
Yeah, because
He misses over the board play. He hasn't played in an over the board tournament in over a year now.
because of the pandemic. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you know, those things, it's going to be a reemergence for a lot of players. We're all going to be in that same boat. So we're all going to have to, you know, shake off the rust a little bit when we get back into regular tournament play, which I hope is in our not too distant future. And when we do, when we start getting back to some semblance of normalcy and we can play in these strong tournaments face to face, you know, I'm going to be watching you and I'm going to be betting on you. And I'm going to be really taking a little bit of pride just because you're from the Bay Area. And just because, you know, I know the people that you know that helped you along the ways. And, you know, the Berkeley Chess Club was, you know, part of what your experience has been part of mine. So we have some things in common. So I feel like I have a rooting interest in your success. And I wish you a great deal of success. But we're coming up against the hour. And I have to say, it's been a pleasure having you both as my guests on the show. And I'm going to take you backstage now, and do my little exit that I always do. But thank you again for being my guest, and thank you for being the dad of Christopher, taking care of him, taking him to these tournaments, working on logistics, figuring all that stuff out for him. And Christopher, keep loving the game because you are inspiring others. And don't take that as a burden. It's not a burden. It's just a gift that you're giving to others. They see you do it and they think, why not me? So
Okay, thank you.
thanks very much.
Thank you.
I'll take you backstage now. All right. That was the Chess Files, and the answers are out there. There is one other thing that I would like to remind you guys of is that we do have a sponsor, and the dollar store, the Fort Bragg Dollar Store, has given us the opportunity to share in their profits. When you purchase, when you identify, use the discount code CHESS. When you go to that dollar store, use the discount code CHESS. You will tell them that the chess community is coming to your business and we're buying your products. And this is my way of connecting the chess community with the business community. And if the business community feels that the chess community has value, then who knows what can be grow out of that. So connect to communities and belong to a community. If you can't connect to the chess community that's out there, ask the EAT Foundation to help you. The EAT Foundation will help you build your community wherever you are, whatever country you're in, whatever language you speak. And if you're part of a community, you're never alone. So I want to thank our guests one more time because that was a special look into how do you get so good so young. So this has been James Eade of the Eade Foundation, and I am going to sign off now, and I will see you next Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time.